Hello and welcome to a Wrath of the Gods special. Today we will be looking at the aircraft used by the Carbonian Alliance, or my aircraft. So first up, well, not just the aircraft, but force in general. First up, we have the Condor, the HAE-8. You'll recognise this one from the videos. Well, you recognise all these planes. All of these planes have been in my videos. As you can see, it's got quite a few turrets on it. I've pointed this out before, but that's because I wanted to go for a more defensive focus with it. I didn't think that, I thought that keeping it alive would be the best thing. This is a very expensive aircraft. This is the only air launch I get per turn if I choose to launch one of these. So this really is my one shot at glory with this launch, and this was the first launch I did for the air war, and it served me quite well. It's done quite a lot of damage. As you can see, it's got the bomb bay underneath which opens up, and in there we have 8 1,000-pound bombs. Compared to other bombers that I could have designed, this carries quite a small payload. You can carry up to 10,000 pounds of bombs and even more with these kind of bombers if you have the points, but I focused on the turrets because I wanted to have my crew live, as it were. So yeah, there's that. And moving on now to my fighter, the KS-47F. This is my Lightning, and it's going to be the primary fighter of our forces. I designed it trying to make it look a bit like the real life P-47D Thunderbolt, but as you can tell, I'm not like a master replica maker, so this is just the best I can do, really. I like it. It serves well. It's gonna do its job well, I believe. It's got the whirlwind engine and is pretty powerful for it. It's class. I would say that it's, in a straight up dogfight, it's probably worse than Adam's or the New Roman Empire's Achilles, but it'll have the advantage most of the time, I assume. Now moving on to the KSA-9K here. This is my ground attack aircraft. This is its bare version. This is basically, you can also give it a number of bombs, you can give it rockets. It's my ground attack aircraft, so it's supposed to be quite versatile. At the moment it's got 250 caliber guns, and you see that little almost stub coming out of the propeller hub. That is a 40mm Vickers cannon. And that is going to be quite useful in strafing out ground units, I believe. So you can see there how large that is inside the actual aircraft itself. Hopefully that'll be quite useful, but we'll just have to wait and see how that pans out. Moving on to the Navy, and starting off with the Bazelard class destroyer. It's quite a small ship. I mean, it's a tiny ship. I mean, look at it compared to my cruiser, and then in the background, my battleship. This thing is purely for air defense. It's got no other function, and the only reason I'm going to launch them is for cheap anti-aircraft firepower. If I launch a battleship, it will be escorted by these things because, well, I'll explain what happened on the battleship in a minute. They could have had torpedoes, and there was the possibility of them having torpedoes, but I decided not to have them because bit of a pain trying to skip. There we go. There's the cruiser radar station in between there. This is a Gladius class. This is not the Gladius class I'm currently using. There is an updated version of it, but this was the basic launch. This was the first basic launch of it. My updated version, I think, looks slightly better, but for now this one is just, it shows you they've got the same capabilities, exactly the same weapons loadout, it's just different armor capabilities. It's 9 8-inch guns and 6 3-inch guns and 4 pom-poms, and Now here is the Longsword class battleship. It doesn't have the full anti-aircraft complement because it's got one more 16-inch gun and it should only be limited to 11, but I talked to the ambassador for the new Roman Empire, Adam as we're going to keep his name, and these weapons are, and to keep them within the rules as such, I've had to strip out some of the anti-aircraft armament. So if I launch a battleship, it's definitely going to have frigates, destroyers to accompany it. Finally, we have the Longbow class aircraft carrier. The reason I called this the Longbow class is because it's based on the battleship, as you can see, same hull shape and everything. These can launch 2 of these a turn, so I'm definitely going to be using a lot of these. And with those, you get a choice of, you can get 5 fighters or 3 attackers. And on my deck, I've got 1 each of my launches here. You'll notice 2 of the planes are the same, but I'll point out the difference in a minute. Like, here we go. Here is the DB-1, which is my dive bomber. It's the first prototype. I may improve them as we go on. This was got the bomb, and you can see here the DB-1T, which has the torpedo underneath. The 2 variants. There's no difference except from the payload. And you can see here you've got 50 cal turret on the back, and I hope these will be sufficient in the fight against New Roman Empire. This is the torpedo variant. I'm not sure if I'm ever going to torpedo bomb. This is there as a possibility, but I believe that dive bombing is the best way to go. And finally, the Spud, the tiny little carrier fighter. Absolutely diminutive, but it takes off from the carrier, and that's all that I really need it to do. I can launch 5 of these from a carrier, so we'll just have to see how this goes. I hope the DB-1s can defend themselves. They have got weapons, but this thing will be the main defence force of the carrier fleet. Moving on to the ground vehicles and starting off with the deployed unit. This is my light tank anti-aircraft gun. These are all units that have been / will be deployed, but I need to update the light tank anti-aircraft gun. I have done some work on a second model, but that's not fully out there yet, so I'm not putting it in the video. This is the basic anti-aircraft gun. It's 2 points. It's very cheap. It just rolls along next to the main tank force, providing anti-aircraft support fire, which is going to be useful. This is a KLM-2I. It's not the original tank. This is a slightly updated version because the original tanks had some horrible physics time warp explosion issues. I mucked about with the insides and changed the armor layout slightly. Apart from that, it's pretty much the same tank, and I still think it looks pretty good. So this will be the main. I believe this will be like the big tank force. It will carry the main weight. And finally, my super heavy tank. This cost me 16 points, so I'm hardly ever going to launch these. But if I do have to launch them, I believe it will be carnage. I don't see anything fighting this with that much effectiveness. It's got super heavy armor. It's got the Mouse's turret, or the E-100's turret. It should be pretty good. I'm just gonna take a shot at one of our medium tanks here. So we don't have enough gun depression. Never mind. Switch over to the anti-aircraft gun. Should be pretty fun to watch. Come on, shoot. Oh, there we go. Boom. Yeah. As you can see, took the weaponry off. Probably stripped out the insides. I might not deploy this too often, but definitely. Oh, yeah, there we go. I'm definitely going to be using these later on in the war. This is a good vehicle to have on my side. Yeah, that's pretty much it for my forces. Thank you very much for watching. I will catch you in the next video. Bye.